It's the Tuesday edition here on Zero Block 30, and today we have 4 rounds of the magazine. Round number one. Round number one. Wrong or right? We're going to see if the actions of one husband are punishable under the UCMJ. Round number 2, that burned up ship with the Frenchy name is getting decommissioned and dragged by its little ass all the way to Texas from California. What a sad, sad state of affairs that thing is. What a burnt up little bitch. Round number 3, fuck around and find out. India sent the strongest of messages to some tourists caught breaking their coronavirus rules. The death penalty? Possibly worse.
I sat down with Navy SEAL Chris Pellitier, who took an unconventional path to the Navy and an even more unconventional path after. Spoiler, he didn't write a book.
And all of that is going to be brought to you by our good friends at BetterHelp. I can't speak. BetterHelp.
Nope, you're having a tough go of it this morning.
Yeah, BetterHelp. So BetterHelp is this company that is actually giving out counseling. A lot of folks don't have the best healthcare insurance or anything like that. So BetterHelp is stepping in that void. We talk about mental health all the time here, and this is a great place to do that at BetterHelp. That's BetterHelp.com/0. You're going to get 10% off your first month. They help you. It's licensed counselors, so it's not like some fly-by-night who's just going to hop on to, let's say Clubhouse and talk about mental health. They're actually some licensed mental health providers that are going to help you out. If you're struggling with something, there's no more shame. You don't have to tell everybody your personal business. You can sit down and talk to a therapist about it, which can be incredibly helpful. It's helpful to me. I do it all the time. Make sure you go to BetterHelp to check that out. BetterHelp.com/0. They're going to be sitting around with you on video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours, which one of my kids had to some mental health stuff going on, and they needed to get a new counselor. Well, it took one of the spots that we called TRICARE, the intake was supposed to be on like March 15th. The first appointment that they could offer, August 1st.
What?
Holy
August.
shit.
That's absurd.
I called TRICARE online. I was like, I need somebody before August. And they're like, well, check around. I was like, of all the 150 mental health care providers that you provided, almost half of them don't accept TRICARE, even though it comes from the TRICARE site. And then another quarter of them say they aren't accepting new patients. The mental health game must be fucking exploding. If all these places are like, oh, we don't even need new patients. Yeah, you seriously do. Accept new patients. Accept them. Stay up late if you need to. Or you can just go to BetterHelp.com and the promo code 0. You're going to get 10% off there. It's a great option for you. Let's get started with the show.
Stay up late if you have to.
Right? Like do a little, sorry, I can't work past 6. Yeah, you can. You can work past 6. This weekend, I know, and my family knows that something is drastically wrong when I voluntarily go to the doctor.
Oh yeah, that's bad.
If it doesn't take me weeks to get there, I know that I'm in like legit pain. Saturday, I started feeling kind of odd. And like, I thought I had whenever you're running and you have like a little hip pointer, like in the pocket of your hip, It kind of felt like that. I was like, did I pull something? What could I have possibly done? And I have been moving around like all the different shit, like stuff down to the pool, move this, move that, all over the place, still trying to get the new house settled. And as the day went on, it started getting worse and worse. And I laid down Saturday night, and I told my wife, I was like, if this isn't better by the morning, I'm going to go see the doctor, because it's in like appendicitis spot. It's in like a bad spot in the bottom of your groin. And so I go in there and I go to this urgent care place. It's right up the road. First of all, this place was unbelievable. Usually when you walk into military emergency medicine or acute care, you better just fucking pack a tent. You're going to be there for a while.
Yep, exactly.
There's no such thing as urgency when you walk in. Unless you have like a heart attack or your brain is falling out of your nose. They're like, just take a number, just sit down there. We'll call your dumbass in about 10 hours. When nobody else is even in the room. There could be nobody else in there. Doesn't matter.
They got other stuff to do.
I walk into this place. I don't even sit down. She's like, what insurance do you have? I said, TRICARE. She's like, oh, can I see your military ID? I say, yes. I hand it to her. Before she even puts my information in the system, she walks me back. into the back. I was like, oh,
that's good.
Is this a different waiting room? And she's like, no. She's like, we have doctors available. So I go in there. When I get in there, the nurse and the medical assistant are already standing in there waiting to accept me. I sit down, tell them what's going on. They immediately start drawing blood. They immediately start bringing me different things, taking my vital signs. By the time he puts the blood down, like to get sampled in this little machine, the actual MD walks in, the emergency care doctor, and he's like, what seems to be the problem? Within 5 minutes, my dick is in this dude's face.
Whoa. I wasn't expecting to hear that.
So it is, I don't think people really appreciate how uncomfortable it is to show someone that you just met your dick like right away.
People appreciate that.
He goes in, he starts like pushing and prodding because I'm like, the symptoms that I'm describing could either be kidney stones or appendicitis. That's what he's concerned about, or a hernia. So he's like doing all these checks. I don't know if this is the way they teach it at medical school, but this dude legit gets into like the duck squat position. Like if you're at MEPS where you're doing like the duck walk across, he's like in a duck walk position, kind of like a catcher a little bit. And he's like, go ahead and pull your trousers down. My dick is like right in this dude's face. I met him for like 5 minutes and he like starts poking and prodding on things. And he's like, how does this feel? I'm like, not great. How does that feel? Not great. How does this feel? Not great. He's like, okay, I think you have kidney stones. So I was like, there's got to be a way.
It's like, Doc, we couldn't have done this without all of this invasive procedure.
You should have told him it felt awesome and to keep going. That would have been really great.
I mean, how do we not have better ways to diagnose things than put your dick in my face?
Men's health is wild because, like, hey, you think you have kidney stones? Let me feel your dick, or let me shove
stick my fingers in your ass. That's where we're at.
Medicine.
It's still like we're practicing Dr. Quinn medicine woman. Like, how are we still at this archaic, barbaric sense of medical where you need to feel my testicles and me cough?
Yeah. It's a shame we haven't figured out how to get, Miss Frizzle on the Magic School Bus to just get inside you and check things out.
Fly up in there.
Yeah, seriously.
Fantastic voyage.
Yeah, so I've been sitting around luckily it was on the Masters. It was kind of like drawing up your vasectomy for March Madness.
Yeah.
I was just sitting around yesterday watching it. That fellow that won, Hideki Matsui, Matsuyama. Hideki Matsui is a right fielder. So he is flying back. Riggs just tweeted out, flying back on just a regular airline. Gotta love that move. Just
every man
spotted, and he had his Masters green jacket draped over his arm, just like somebody would if they were coming back from the Marine Corps ball with their dress blue jacket just draped over their arm, ready to go, because you don't want to wear that thing on a flight. Cons, you had a busy weekend in Austin. Enjoyed that.
Yeah, I had a great time in Austin. I always love Austin. It was a little warm on Friday, but cooled down on Saturday. I stood in line on Saturday. We heard about this taco place. I stood in line for 50 minutes to get to order our food. And nothing annoyed me more than there's a group in front of me, 2 groups in front of me. And we get to the front of the line, and the lady's like asking questions, looking at the menu. Lady, you've been in line for 40 minutes. What have you been doing? You got to know when you get to the front of a long line, you got to be ready to go. And I couldn't have it. And then the tacos, honestly, they were fine. But no taco, I think, is worth waiting for 50 minutes. But at that point, we were so committed that had we just left the line and went somewhere else, it would have made no sense. So
and can we just say, liking tacos is not a fucking personality trait?
Yeah.
There's so many people online who are like, oh, I love no shit, you like tacos. Who fucking doesn't like tacos?
Yeah.
It's like saying I like pizza.
Well, yeah, right. I'm a huge pizza. I like ice cream. Wow, dude.
Whoa.
Wow. It's Tuesday. Gotta eat some tacos. Shut up. Yeah. Everybody likes
LeBron.
Tacos. You're not special.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, LeBron. Mm-hmm. Fuck.
I had, after lunch, I got coffee with one of my old professors from college, who's probably like the one and only guy I really remember and really enjoyed. It was definitely my favorite professor. So that was interesting to catch up with this guy. 25 years in the Army. Really
Professor
interesting.
Snape?
Yeah. What's it? Professor Snake? Is that what you said?
Snape.
Oh, no.
Harry Potter joke.
Got it. Well, that's why. So that was great. Yeah. No, it's always good to get back down to Austin. But then I saw, speaking of Texas, Chaps, I saw on Instagram this morning, you have a little bit of a situation with your pool, friend.
Yeah, I do. Yesterday, because I was walking down and hanging out, my family was chilling. They're playing in the pool while I was not feeling great. I walked down there and noticed that the water was a little low. So I started adding water. Baby Dale ran up to the top of the stairs. He was nervous, so I had to go get him. And then I just went back inside, completely forgot that I turned the water on. That was at like 3 o'clock. By 7:38, I had to go outside to let the dogs out again. My pool is like filled to the top. If I'd have been there 10 minutes more, my pool would have been completely overflowed. I got to start setting alarms. I'm not prepared to be a pool owner. I was freaking out on Friday because we've had this record levels of pollen here in Texas. And pollen, I guess, falls from oak trees in these huge clumps. And they're just filling up all these different skimmer baskets and all this stuff. There's way more maintenance than I thought. I had to learn all these different pipes. I'm calling the pool guy, like trying to figure it out, trying to FaceTime him. He's clearly annoyed that I'm calling him on a Saturday evening. I don't care. Like, I need to figure this out. I don't want it to be ruined. And it was supposed to be the first super hot weekend. And all the dude that was doing the landscaping and bringing all this mulch and rocks and all this stuff created all kinds of clouds. And my water was all cloudy. I thought I was going to have a big issue. Everything's fine. It's good.
Yeah.
Fine.
So I have possibly a poor question. I might give myself away here. You don't just put a hose in your pool when you fill it up, do you? You
you put a hose. Yeah.
Okay. Well, then I don't feel so poor.
I mean, I'm sure that some people have it where you can have like an automated button or whatever. I don't.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Just a hose.
Okay. Actually, I never. Maybe that exists. I've never heard of that existing, but that's interesting. One other thing, I posted a picture on Instagram from the wedding, and a lot of people were like giving me shit about how high my pants were. It's called fashion. Look it up. I don't have to answer to any of you folks who wouldn't even know how to spell the words bespoke suit. So don't talk to me. Don't come at me. Yeah, exactly.
All right.
That's what I.
And Kyle's back from Missouri, so we are ready. Everybody's back. Kate, I don't know what Kate's doing.
I haven't even heard a peep from Kate.
Kate is UA at this point. She's like, oh yeah, I'll hop in from time to time. You just love your little baby way more than ZBT. So fucked up. You've had ZBT in your life for like 3 years now. How long's that baby been here? 3 weeks?
Yeah.
How about
together.
Loyalty?
Seriously.
Yeah.
Baby can't take care of itself by now?
Disgusting.
Pretty sad.
That's unbelievable.
Lazy
Unbelievable. Let's get into the actual show. Round number 1. There is a wife who is furious at her husband. And I could see this happening at just about every single unit. And this story comes to us from our friends in Australia. I don't really know if they're friends. I'm kind of fucking sick of Australia. Like all these people saying that, oh, I'm a pussy because I don't like snakes. I didn't choose to live in Australia. Why you would choose to live in Australia with all those damn snakes that could kill you in your backyard? I'll never know.
I mean, a lot of people didn't choose to live there. They were sent there by the British, so it's their fault that they're there. We can blame the British for Australia.
That's true. I actually got offered a job when I was in Japan. Australia was trying to up their canine units, like capabilities. So they were hiring dog handlers from like the Marine Corps and Army to go over there and be the kennel masters. They're offering what seemed to be like a shit ton of money at the time for me. Like it was like $120,000. And I was like, whoa. And then I looked into what the cost of living in Australia is. That's like
absurd.
That's like pennies. Like that's nothing in Australia. Like I couldn't even find as a good spot to live.
Well, glad you didn't. But have you ever actually been? Have you ever actually been there though to visit or vacation?
To Australia? Very briefly. I went for like a training mission for like 2 weeks.
Well, that's a pretty considerable amount of time.
Yeah, that's
but I didn't get to see much. It's like one of those, like, oh yeah, I've been to Thailand. No, you haven't. You went to fucking Cobra Gold and you were like hanging out in the jungle.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Like there's certain spots that I've been in the world where I can say technically I've been there, but I haven't really been there. Like Germany, for instance. Like I got to go to Germany. I wasn't really like hanging out and going to Oktoberfest. I was on Spain Gollum Air Force Base. Like that's not exactly going to Germany.
That's a good point. I guess, well, I've been to New Orleans, but I guess if someone had ever asked me if I've been to Louisiana and I just said, yeah, I went to JRTC, that'd be the same thing. Didn't count.
Right. Like that's just the way it goes. Or say people, oh, I spent time in Chicago. What'd you do? You went to Navy boot camp. You haven't been to fucking Chicago. Like you just happened to be inside the city limits of Chicago. That's it.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. All right,
so this one says, shocked awaited a woman as she came to know her husband was selling off healthy lunches she was preparing for him daily and buying fast food from his office canteen instead. The couple was planning to buy a flat together and were working on a tight budget to save money, as much money as they could to fulfill their common dream. Earlier, the husband purchased mostly fast food for lunch at work while planning to purchase their dream home. The wife calculated that fast food lunches cost them more than 200 pounds a month. The pair, I guess that's like $300, maybe $150. Who knows what a fucking pound is. The pair mutually decided that it was better for them that she starts making his lunches at his home, and it would save them a lot of money, but he would be able to eat homemade healthy lunches instead. Things were sailing along smoothly until the plan hit a rock whenever the woman texted her husband, asked him if she liked the sandwiches, and he wouldn't reply. Instead, he would ask her to make her more than 2 sandwiches to satisfy his appetite. The woman discovered the complete truth when her husband's colleague visited the couple. We sat at the dinner table and his friend brought up the sandwiches I usually make for my husband and how delicious they are. I thanked him and he said that the price was a bit much. She added that she was confused and had him explain. I cannot imagine my wife's response if she had went out of her way every day to make my lunch and then I was selling it at work. Cannot imagine.
Yeah,
I mean, well for anybody.
No, that wouldn't end well for anyone. But like I was reading through this story and I was trying to figure out which side I was on, and it's really tough because you can really see both sides. But ultimately, if he's making money because he's getting what he wants, it's sort of a win-win situation.
Oh yeah,
not for her. She's not for her. Work, and you're just giving it away. I think that he's going to be in big trouble for that.
Probably, but now here's the opportunity. He can say, "Hey, listen, everybody loves the sandwiches. Let's go in on it big time." And I'll just start bringing 10 sandwiches, 20 sandwiches to lunch and selling those because they're better than the cafeteria. Boom. Now you got yourself a side business. Next thing you know, you're living in diamonds and furs.
But I think this is basic economics. I think people want to buy those sandwiches because of the scarcity of it.
Ooh, supply and demand. Sure.
Everybody else has like to go to these little Geedunk trucks and somebody else has something homemade with a little bit of freshness there. Mm-hmm. I think that's going to you can't do that. And I think you got to tell your wife right away. Like you can't, if he would have been like, hey, I'm selling those and I'm breaking even and we're still good, maybe he gets away with it. But her finding out from a colleague,
I think also though, I think one of the things that is very taboo, and you guys both know you're married, and you can't talk about appearance in a relationship really. Either way, I think, right? Like, so if my guy here is eating fast food every day, stands to the reason maybe he's a tad overweight. So instead of her telling him, hey, you're getting a little chunky and I'm not liking it, she gives him the ruse that, I'm going to make your lunch so we can save money and buy our dream home. So really, this was just her way of, I think it's her telling him he's fat.
I think if he is, she should just tell him straight up.
Yeah, I think she just got to say, hey, you fat fuck, you're going to die soon. And if she does die, did you guys see what Colorado is doing with dead bodies?
No, but I can't wait to hear.
Yes, Colorado is doing all kinds of stuff with dead bodies. They are looking at getting rid of the law that says that you can't use human bodies for composting purposes. Colorado is a couple of votes away and one signature away from joining only Washington State and offering people the option to turn their bodies into pounds of soil after death. It uses little energy and would cost as much as about cremation, but it would take some time for funeral homes to implement before Colorado could use it. If you had the option of being turned into compost, would you take it?
150%. I do not give a fuck what happens to my body when I'm dead. Doris me. Put me on a rocket. Put me in the dirt to grow trees. I don't care.
I told my wife, you could just throw me into the grill and turn that motherfucker up on high heat and just see what happens.
Yep.
I guess if you're going to turn me into some sort of soil or whatever, then maybe plant a tree. So then that way.
There's a kit that you can buy.
Yeah.
From
that. I've seen that.
We actually have that in our will where we want to do it. There's this spot that we found in Hawaii, which I've been telling Annalise that I'll take her body to Hawaii or take her tree to Hawaii and plant it there. I'm not fucking doing that. She's going to end up in, I might take her to like San Marcos, which is just like 20 minutes away. It's lovely. There's a little stream. But I mean, reality, you can lie to anyone, tell them what you're going to do with your body. I think just have some huge, I would like it. Let's say you fly a helicopter over the Himalaya mountains and you just toss me into the ice.
Dump me out.
I think that would be nice.
That'd be cool. That'd be different.
We spend so much good space on cemeteries. The best real estate in America is filled with worthless dead people.
You know what Siberia should do? Siberia should have this thing where if you die, they freeze you right away, where you could get put inside the tundra, where you would have, whenever that will like get frost out, where you could be discovered 2,000 years later as like a modern caveman.
That'd be cool. Kind of like Encino Man. I like that. I like
you can make yourself essentially like a time capsule.
Yeah.
And you just get to pick, like your will isn't where you go. You know you're going to Siberia, but you get to pick what's in your pocket. Like I would put like a Microsoft Zoom in there, like all kinds of shit that's not going to get messed up. So then in 2,000 years, when aliens or whatever are pulling you out, they get to see what you liked. Like, oh, check this out. It's a Blake Bortles rookie card. Who the fuck is Blake Bortles?
Hey, is Walt Disney still frozen?
I think so.
And Ted Williams, right?
Right. Teddy Ballgame's still frozen.
Yeah.
That's got to be expensive.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, Disney's got it.
That's true.
Yeah, I think Disney's okay.
I think they're okay.
If somebody was frozen from history and you could bring them back just to talk to him, except for Jesus, who would it be?
Wow, that's a really, really good question.
I know. I'll answer. I know he'll probably swear at me and call me names, but I would welcome it. General Patton. I want to
that's a good answer.
Down talk with General Patton and ask once and for all, were you murdered or was it really an accident?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Well, no, I was going to say one, but it was kind of deformed when he went, so it could be tough. I was going to say JFK. But that could be tough.
Yeah, he's probably got a worse headache than me this weekend. I would pick Socrates. I would pick Socrates because I would have a debate with Socrates and he could do like philosophy and then we would do current events. I would make sure that current events and I would own Socrates in a debate and then I would look like the smartest person alive.
Yeah. What language is Socrates talking?
Greek.
Okay. So you got to like either he's got to learn English or you got to learn Greek.
We'll have a translator.
Google Translate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. Google Translate right in Socrates' face.
Super easy. All right. Round number 2. This one comes to us from San Diego. We spent a lot of time talking about the Bonhomme Richard and how it got burnt the fuck up. They estimated, according to this article, they estimated that the damage would have taken $2.5 to $3.2 billion and 5 to 7 years to repair all the damage. But they said that it was too steep for a ship that's 22 years old. So the Navy plans on holding a small decommissioning ceremony Wednesday with a limited attendance. Then the ship will be towed to Galveston, Texas. For scrapping purposes, that has to take an insane amount of fuel to tow an aircraft carrier.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, geez, wait. San Diego and towed to Texas. So hold on. What way are we even going? Like down past Central America and through the Panama Canal?
You got to be going through the Panama Canal, right? Like that's the only. How else would you get there? You're not going to go down below fucking Chile. No. That's far though. That's really, really far. That would be, I mean, that's like the ultimate Uber trying to get that down there. I don't know why, with all this problem that they're having with sea life, just clean it up and sink it. Yeah, it can't be more. You can't get more money out of it just by like a scrapyard. I've tried to scrap stuff before. You don't get much for that. No. What are you gonna use? No, and the amount of manpower that it would take to get rid like all the nuts and bolts away and like completely do that. Just go to a spot that needs a new coral reef, sink that ship, and have it become like a dive site.
Use it for target practice. 2 birds, 1 stone.
Torpedoes.
Ooh, yeah. And then eventually it'll just sink on its own, thus becoming the coral reef. I like that idea. Just let our Navy or whomever, the Air Force, just let a bunch of people shoot that thing.
Or actually do what they were trying to do with that ship that was stuck in the Suez Canal. Bring a bunch of helicopters and see how many it takes to pick it up.
Yep. It's about time we answer.
Get the answers to the questions that people really want to know. That's a great point.
They honestly, if you had something like that, and like what's that story where the rich people get to go hunt humans? You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yes, I do know, but I don't know Predators. The name of it, but I know what you're talking about.
No, it's the most dangerous
that story.
Game.
It's not Predators. That story where you can hunt humans. I think if you offered this to like the Bill Gateses of the world, the Elon Musk, and you were like, look, you can have whatever in our arsenal you want to. You have to pay for the munitions. You are the one that gets to pull the trigger and decide how we get rid of this thing. We're going to auction it off, and all the super rich people get to participate. Like you bring in the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, like all these hugely rich people, and then you pay-per-view stream it where you could do it. You could probably pay for the education department in America with that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I would bid my ass off to sink a ship.
Sweet. If I was super rich, or if you had like a pool of people together, like Alex Rodriguez is doing with some other rich fella to buy the Minnesota Timberwolves. Whenever you had that kind of thing, just get a bunch of rich people together and just start blowing stuff up.
Or give it to your favorite podcast and they'll turn it into content, like us, maybe. Just thinking out loud here.
There's just so many other ideas. I don't know how people land on these ideas. Like, hey, wait, hold on. I have an idea. All right. It's in San Diego, right? Okay. What if we take it to Texas?
Well, I mean,
how do you land on that and think, oh yeah, you know what? That's the best idea. We're just spitballing here for 10 minutes and came up with 4 better ideas.
Or they could just use it as firefighter training because they didn't know how to put it out. Just keep lighting that motherfucker on fire.
That's a good point.
That works too. That works too. Add it to the list.
Yeah, like if you need to learn how to put out a ship, set this one on fire again.
This is
1,200 degrees last time.
No one's been able to put it out, but maybe you will. I don't know. I wouldn't
be able to at all, unless I had a little bit of Black Rifle coffee in the old bloodstream, because I like to have some good coffee if I need to stay up late to put out a ship. Black Rifle Coffee Company is a veteran-owned coffee company that's serving premium coffee to people who love America. Their CEO spent over 7 years on the ground overseas with U.S. Special Forces as a CIA contractor, even modified his gun trucks during the invasion of Iraq to grind coffee anywhere. Black Rifle Coffee Company is continually committed to the veterans supporting the community, law enforcement, and first responder causes. In 2020, Black Rifle Coffee donated more than 6 million cups of coffee to deployed soldiers, law enforcement, and medical workers working through their signature Buy a Bag, Give a Bag initiatives. They import it all over the place, and it's some of the stuff is here in San Antonio. I was driving down the road and saw their actual brick and mortar place. That spot, fucking lovely, man. Like it's legit nice. Like I was like, holy shit, man. This is not you have like the picture of the old staff NCOs, the crusty old officers drinking coffee. I don't think they're going to that spot. This spot is nice. And I bet they have delicious pastries in there as well. Go to blackriflecoffee.com/0. And legitimately, their coffee cups are incredible. Like if the thickness, a good solid cup, when you pick it up and you're like, damn, that feels heavy in the hand. That's how these feel. So if you need a good solid mug, pick up one from blackriflecoffee.com/0. You're going to get the freshest coffee in America shipped to you. You're going to love it. All right, let's move on to round number 3. So coronavirus, I think people are sick of it, right? Like it's at this point, you either are viewed as like a super softie if you still believe in it and you're wearing a mask, or you're viewed as like a meathead if you don't care about it. There's like no in between where you could be like this rational person at all and kind of trust the science and what's going on. I actually saw 40% of the Marine Corps has decided not to take it. And that is the least surprising news of all time to me.
You think?
Right.
Give them a choice and they're going to say, fuck no. Yeah.
You have to force Marines to get a flu shot. And if you gave them the option, you would never go to medical or dental. Like that's just the way junior troops are. As soon as they said they were going to make it optional, I'm legitimately surprised that it's only 40%.
I would have thought it would be higher.
Yeah, that's pretty low. it should be a lot higher, honestly. But I guess Marines are just changing. They're getting soft now.
I would have thought if you'd have said they're not forcing it, I would have said probably 60 to 70% would have opted out.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, they want to opt out of getting their teeth cleaned for free. Like it's not like it's a rational thing there at all.
Isn't that crazy? How, and it's not just the Marines; it's across the military. How everybody, if they weren't forced, we just wouldn't go to the dentist.
You wouldn't do anything if you weren't forced. Yeah. You wouldn't get a flu shot. You wouldn't get your normal vaccinations. You wouldn't get shit. And Marines are like, oh, I don't want the long-term effects. Dude, you're the same people that are eating fucking cum on wheat snack bread. Like, don't tell me you're worried about the long-term ramifications. Yeah. I've seen Marines go down on hookers in Djibouti, Africa, where at the time the HIV rate was damn near 60%. Don't tell me that you're concerned about long-term effects.
Yeah, just tell the truth. You don't want to do it, and that's okay too. If it's optional and they're giving you the choice, just say I don't want to right now, and
But the surprising thing is, how much do you think that changes if commanders say, if you get the vaccine, you get a 96?
Oh my gosh, the line's going to be out the door.
That's all you have to do.
Yeah. And it's not like they have to go to work. I mean, when you're in CONUS, what do you do 90% of the day?
If you're a commander, if you're a colonel or above, and you go out to your troops and say, look, if you get this vaccine, you can pick anytime this entire summer. It doesn't have to be whenever we say, any weekend this summer, you just get to put in your little Libo sheet and you have a 96 on a Friday, and on a Monday, you don't have to come back to work till Tuesday at noon. If you did that, the numbers would be astronomical. You'd have everyone would take it.
Yes. Yeah. And like you said, Kyle, you're not really losing out on manpower, because what are you doing when you're stateside anyway on a Friday and a Monday? On Friday, especially, maybe you're doing some things on a Monday, so you might miss somebody then. But overall, this is a great idea. It's unbelievable how smart we are. It really is. We have all these better ideas for the military if they would just give us a call.
It's ridiculous. Ridiculous. So in India, they're doing a little bit different. They're making it a little bit harder because a group of oh my God, dude. A group of foreigners was made to write sorry 500 times for flouting the lockdown guidelines on Saturday. 10 foreigners from different countries were caught taking a stroll in an area amid the ongoing 21-day lockdown to curb the spread of the novel coronavirus and not maintaining social distancing. Each one of them was made to write a sentence of apology 500 times as a punishment. I did not follow the rules of the lockdown, so I am so sorry. Each one of them wrote 500 times. And 500 foreigners were staying in these areas where they were seen violating the lockdown rules. 500 times, you got to pump those numbers up. 500 times writing I'm sorry ain't shit.
I mean, it stinks, don't get me wrong, but yes, it's not near as bad as if you said 5,000.
Yeah, I mean, I think 5,000 is a little much. I think you got to go in at least 1,000.
At least.
You can't be pussyfooting around.
So Alex gets anxiety when there's turbulence on a plane, which I think is a perfectly normal thing. A lot of people don't like turbulence, whatever. So we had about 30 minutes left in our flight on Friday. So I was trying to keep her mind occupied. So did you guys ever play that game where you have all the 100 dots and you got to just draw a line, and then when you make a square, you win that square? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And just drawing 100 dots, that was annoying as hell. And that's just a dot. So imagine writing, I am so sorry, 500 or 1,000 times. I get it. That's annoying.
Oh, right. Anything. If you have to do it by hand, it's absolute. Just signing my loan paperwork here for my new house, just signing that motherfucker over and over again. Writing anything. The last time I wrote an actual letter, I remember thinking, how did I do this for so long in school? Now, if I write a page worth of anything, my hand is all cramped up. That's complete muscle memory that you lose.
Exactly. Yeah. The muscles in your hand. I will still write handwritten notes from time to time when warranted. I think it's a nice thing to do. But at the end of the letter, my hand is always hurting because everything I do, especially if even notes, I use the Notes app. It's just so much easier and it's just there.
And I know that I understand why you like writing handwritten notes. I hate getting them because most people's penmanship are terrible. I have certain letters from different like congressmen who write handwritten letters if you go to their office or whatever, and they'll send it here. I have no idea what those fucking things say. Just type it out, sign it. Like I can see, sign it, or just make a note. I actually typed this out myself. It wasn't my assistant who did it.
Yeah, I didn't dictate this. Yeah, that would work too.
But they went a different way in the Philippines because the Philippines, I don't know if you've heard this or not, but the Philippines are pretty brutal on their punishments. A young Filipino man has died after being forced by police to do 300 squat-like exercises as punishment for reportedly breaking their coronavirus rules. He suffered a seizure at home and died in a hospital after humiliating exercise last Thursday night. His death certificate indicated the cause of death was stroke and cardiovascular hypertension. So they basically, what the police did is they grabbed people up because they're dealing with 812,000 infections right now and close to 14,000 deaths in the Philippines. So they're taking it pretty serious right now. They're having a huge outbreak. So the cops will round up all these people and they'll essentially make them do platoon PT.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They are making them do it in line, on time, together. Is what this article says, that they'll be like, all right, 1, 2, they have to do 100 squats in a row. But if anybody breaks and they don't do it together, they start over. That's what happened here. Oh. So they're only supposed to do 100 as the maximum, but they have to do 100 together. And that is the common military thing to do to be able to haze people more. Like, oh no, you got to do 10 correct push-ups. I said correct. That is not correct. 0, 0, 0, 0, and then 10 pull-ups or 10 push-ups turns into 100. That's exactly what happened here, to the point this dude died.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate. But I think in my head, 300, I guess just body squats. It's not like they got a squat rack for him and they're putting 225 on the bar. 300 body squats, while that may not seem like a lot, if you're not someone who does body squats ever, that can get painful very quickly. So, but I don't know that
300. If they're making, and I can't imagine they're letting you get away with some half-ass squats.
Right.
They're probably making you go deep. And probably like my doctor was when he was looking at my dick. They're like deep down in these squats.
Yeah, breaking parallel there. But I don't understand. I think you'd have to be really terribly out of shape and in bad health to even make that kill you, though. Like, I can understand.
Well, you're also nervous. You got to add in because you're dealing with like these cops, and think of all the extrajudicial killings that have been going on in the Philippines too. Their cops aren't exactly ones to fuck around with. Like,
that's a good point.
Their president will be like, oh, if it's a drug dealer, just fucking kill him in the streets. They don't give a shit.
Yeah. Oh man, that's tough. What is one thing exercise where if I told you to do 300 reps of what right now, it would just kill you?
Run a mile.
300 continuous steps running.
I mean, there's a lot where it might kill me. Oh, I don't know. Like shuttle runs. If you had to do 300 suicides.
Yeah, that would be 300 suicides. That's obscene. I cannot imagine doing 300 suicides.
In baseball in high school, if you fucked up or for every D you got on a paper, you owed the coach, you owed him like 20 poles, like running back and forth from foul pole to foul pole. There was one guy who came in and he got like 5 Ds reported in the same day, and he had to do 100. And by the end of practice, he didn't even get to practice at all. He was just like, it's so hot, because it was Pensacola in the middle of summertime, like 100 degrees outside. It was terrible. Suicides and polls were just the worst.
That coach would be put in jail if that happened today.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Like if you go home and little Johnny tells fucking Karen that he had to run at all.
Oh, can you imagine?
I got yelled at for making kids stay warm between soccer games. Some morbidly obese beached whale yelled at me for having her kids stay warmed up.
What do you mean you make them stay warm? Oh, so just like running, like jogging in place or something?
We had 2 soccer games in a day, and I was going to keep the kids warm. It wasn't hot or anything. She didn't appreciate that. So from the comfort of her oversized chair, she let me have it.
She gave you the what for? I love it when youth coaches put the hurt on children. I think for my kid, when she was playing soccer, Kelsey talked back. She was probably 7 years old, maybe. And she was 7 years old. And she talked back to the coach like, oh, I don't want to do that. And the coach made her run laps like the rest of the practice around. I stood on the sideline like, oh, yes. Get her ass.
Talk back when you can't talk because you're out of breath.
Every time she would walk by, I'm like, let's pick it up the pace, Kels. Let's go. Let's go. Shut up, Dad. That's the best.
Oh, that's fantastic. I like that. I like that a lot.
One of my friends from Bible school, I used to post pictures on Facebook all the time of my kids acting like I would do like Marine Corps punishments for my children. McCartney was maybe 18 months old. And McCartney used to like to work, and this was when I actually worked out. So we would do like, me and my wife would work out together. We made McCartney put their feet up on the coffee table and was doing push-ups. And I took a video and was like, I guess she'll learn from talking back to her mom and dad. And people were like, that's so mean. I can't believe you would do that. I didn't do it to an 18-month-old, you fucking freaks.
You idiots. But you know what though? You know what though? I don't hate that. Your kids acting up and they're 10 years old, whatever. Hey, outside, take a lap. Just make them do laps around the house. Yeah. I don't hate that.
I do make my kids, if they're arguing back and forth, both of them have to get on their knees, look at each other in the face and say, I love my sibling. I love my sibling, like right back and forth in their face. And I hate that.
Well, they'll learn eventually.
I doubt it.
Yeah, stupid as shit. Probably not. Kids don't learn.
All right, let's jump into that interview we got with Chris,
who is brought to you by Diner Labs. If you need to grow a beard, a thick beard, there's nothing worse than when people, Frankie Borelli, for example, when you can't grow a beard and you want to, or a mustache and you really want to. I was that way. Before I joined the Marine Corps, I was 21, 22. I probably had like 3 or 4 little peach fuzz hairs, and they still made me shave every single day. If that didn't happen, I don't know if I ever have facial hair. I had like such a baby face at the time where I don't think I would have ever had it. But some of these folks that try to grow a beard and it just looks terrible, they have the dark beard on the bottom and the light beard on top. You need a little help to get that thing going, because a shitty beard looks shitty on your face. No beard filter on social media is going to help you. But what you can do is go to our friends at Man the Fuck Up and get it. If you want to go on Amazon, you can find it, and you can actually text them. They have a straight up text where you can text ZBT to 66097. And if you do that, you're going to score 20% off on the ultimate beard growth. Again, that's text ZBT to 66097 to score more than 20% off of Man the Fuck Up ultimate beard growth. You're going to love that stuff. You're also going to love this interview.
All right. Joining us now on Zero Blog 30 is a gentleman who is a friend of Ryan Whitney, host of the Spit and Chicklets podcast. And a while ago, I was listening to one of their episodes, and he mentioned his buddy, Chris, who decided to join the Navy SEALs and then got out of the Navy SEALs and decided to start a golf putter company. And that just struck me as odd. So I was like, you know what? I got to talk to this guy. So with us now is Chris Pellitier. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yep, it's good. Pretty close. Pellitier, I guess, but depends where you're from. So it's fine.
So how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing well. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
It's a big help for us, and I'm excited to kind of tell my story a little bit.
Yeah. So how is it that you even got into the Navy? Because you weren't one of these guys who was a hard charger out of high school and said, I got to be in the Navy and that's what I'm called to do. You took a very circular path to get there.
Yeah. I went to college in Maine, went to Bowdoin College. I played hockey up there. And then when I graduated, I played in minor leagues in a league. The Central League doesn't even exist anymore. Did that for a year. It was a great experience. I wasn't good, but I had a lot of fun doing it. Mm-hmm. Once that finished up, it was time to step into the real world, to get a real job and kind of, foray into your 20s, I guess. Mm-hmm. So I ended up getting a job in Boston, and I worked at that job for about 4 years. At some point during that time, I knew it wasn't something I wanted to do long term, and I was looking for a way out.
Well, what were you doing?
I was just working at a consulting firm in Boston, just kind of a non-essential role type thing.
Yeah, no, I got you. So my first job out of the military, I worked at EY, another consulting firm. So I get that life, how it can be a little bit appealing at first, and then you get into the grind, and depending on what you're doing, not necessarily always fulfilling.
Yeah. So at some point, I had a little bit of angst, and I had kind of run into a brick wall. I wasn't sure what I was going to do, and then I decided, well, maybe I should go to business school. Then the market starts crashing, the 06, 07 market, the housing market, and a lot of people started losing their jobs, and it just became competitive. Not that I would have gotten into business school anyway, but I had made the decision basically in the fall of 2008, I'll apply to business school, and if I don't get in, I'm going to do something challenging. I wanted to do something challenging. Business school would have been that for my brain, but short of that, it didn't work out. So I decided I wanted to try to become a SEAL. When you first read the literature, hear the stories, you don't really know what to expect. And I just began to educate myself as much as possible.
Did you have any military in your family?
Yeah, I did. My dad was a Vietnam vet.
Okay.
My grandfather was in the Navy. My mom's uncle, he was actually part of the D-Day invasion. So there's a lot of history. He was a CB on D-Day.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's impressive. Thank you to all of them for their service. So was there any ever pressure at home, like, hey, Chris, go into the family business, so to speak, and follow in all of our footsteps?
No. My mom was always super supportive. I don't think anybody wants to have their son go and do work that could potentially get you killed. But she was supportive. Once I had made my decision, she was all behind it. Never any pressure. I wouldn't say there was any pressure to avoid the military or anything like that. It was just when it became a reality for her, it's probably hard to swallow, but she was supportive just like everything else she's ever been.
Yeah, because think about this timeline, 06, 07, 08, obviously post 9/11, and we are in the thick of things in Iraq and Afghanistan, and specifically in Iraq, getting ready for the surge. So you telling mom and dad, I want to become a Navy SEAL, I can't imagine that conversation was received very well the first time you told them.
Yeah, I think it was probably, at that stage, this is probably a key component to this whole story, is I was, when I had made the decision I wanted to become a SEAL, I was actually 28. I was past my 28.
That is another ridiculous thing, because it's one thing, and I was saying this to somebody the other day, it's one thing to go into the military when you're 18 and you kind of like don't really know what's going on in the world yet. But then at 28, you kind of got an idea of how the world works a little bit. Yeah. So to go into boot camp as a 28-year-old and listening to getting screamed at potentially by people who are younger than you, depending on who's there, was that had to have been a challenge in and of itself. Yeah,
that's to kind of finish the point. Yeah, so when I was making my decision, not only was my mom, she was probably kind of like, "Is this guy crazy? What's he talking about?" But my friends too. I know my friends were like, "Well, all right, good luck. We're going to support you, but that's a little bit of an unconventional thing." But yeah, once I got to to boot camp, I had been living on my own for all intents and purposes since I was 18 or 19, whatever, when you go to college. And having your own apartment and all that sort of stuff, and then going to boot camp, enlisted boot camp, and having a compartment of whatever it is, 85, 90, recruits. It's a little bit different. And I had a different perspective. I already, there's a lot of 18, 19, 20-year-old kids. And the maturity level, it's different from a 28-year-old to an 18-year-old, but we're all there for the same reason, to get trained, to get ready to go out to do whatever your job was that you had signed up for. In hindsight, I don't know if I could have done it when I was 18, so I commend all those kids that do it. But yeah, it was a different experience for me as a 28-year-old, and I turned 29 in boot camp, so I just barely beat the cutoff.
Okay, so all right, so two questions. First, were you still in pretty good shape from playing college hockey? Like, were you playing in maybe some men's leagues or anything, or just kind of going to the gym and riding the bike every once in a while, or were you in need of getting yourself into shape to go to boot camp? Yeah,
it's actually it's a funny story. So when I first showed some interest, somebody put me in contact with a regional, it's kind of, they call them dive motivators, a regional motivator. And we went and swam at the at the Y right by the U.S. Constitution. He wanted to see me in the water and see how comfortable I was. And then, he just kind of looked me up and down and had a meeting, talked about my goals and, whatever. So at the end of the meeting, he told me, he's like, I'm not going to lie. You're old, you're out of shape, and you're too big. You're probably not going to have a good chance of making it. But I'll commit to you if you commit to me. Okay. So I said, fair enough. I didn't know what was involved. I didn't know. I was a terrible runner. I have big legs. I have big hockey legs, and those never went away. I still have them now. So it's a lot for me to move. And that was always the biggest thing. I got comfortable in the water. I'd always been comfortable in the water, but I hadn't ever done any of the military combat stroke or anything like that. But yeah, it was a huge adjustment for me. I had to lose some weight. I had to cut my run times down. I think my first mile and a half was probably like 12 or 13 minutes when I first ever tested it at a mile and a half at that size. The standard is well below that, obviously. Yeah. So there was a lot of stuff I needed to do, but it was up to me. So I took it serious, and it was something I trained hard for.
Yeah, I mean, definitely sounded like you needed to. And then when you were in boot camp, did you find like the younger recruits just kind of by default looking up to you as the older guy and looking for advice and leaning on you in any sort of way?
No, I don't know if there was any. Honestly, I don't know if there was any sort of like stewardship or anything like that. There were younger guys that I kind of hung out with, and those would probably be the more mature kids. They may have looked up to me, but they never said that they did. I think we all looked up to each other because, I might have been 28, but I was not the worst runner, but I wasn't a great runner. And I would look up to the guys who were good runners, and they might be a good 18-year-old runner. So if there was admiration, there was mutual respect for, what everybody was doing there. Everybody raised their hand, took the oath. So that's impressive in and of itself for a lot of these kids to do when they're 18. So I admire that, and I wish I was mature enough to do that when I was that age. Yeah,
but I mean, I have to imagine, just that locker room mentality that you took with you from hockey probably served you pretty well in that environment.
Yeah, so, and that's actually what, that's what I missed the most was the team mentality and that group think.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's one of the things that so many guys mention when they leave the military and they leave athletics. It's just that they miss not even necessarily playing, but just being in the locker room and BSing with your boys after practice. So explain it to me, because I don't fully understand. So when you sign up to join the Navy, do you sign up with the understanding I'm going to be a Navy SEAL, like I'm going to get sent to that training? Or do you sign up and just go to boot camp, and then if you pass a test or something, then you get to go to BUD/S?
Yeah, so I'm not sure how they do it now. When I did it, it was in 2008, 2009 when I was starting the process. It was basically they had a certain number of basically roster spots for each BUD/S class. And I don't know how all the math works, but they break it down, and each region got X number of billets. And based on how many people were there, it was competitive. I was in the New England region, and it was competitive. There's a lot of New Englanders that were always trying to become SEALs. Our groups were always really big. So what you ultimately need to do is you need to get into the Navy first. So you get accepted, you pick your job or whatever it is. And then if you pass the physical standards and not beat all the other candidates, but if you rise to the top amongst all the other candidates, you earn a contract to go to BUD/S. Now that just guarantees you, as long as you hold up your end of the bargain, passing all your evolutions, not getting in trouble, all that sort of stuff. If you just toe the line, you will go to BUD/S if you continue to perform and whatnot. But no, you can't just say, hey, I want to go to BUD/S. There is a handshake deal with the Navy, like, okay, we're going to give you the opportunity, but you have to hold up your end of the bargain. There was a program, if you went to boot camp, you could raise your hand. If you could go and pass the standard, I think you were able to get into the BUD/S pipeline.
Got it.
I don't know how that worked, though, that part.
Right. Okay, so you got through boot camp, and you show up to BUD/S, and you're 29 at this point. So, yeah. Again, you're the old dude. Although I'm sure at BUD/S there's probably a little bit more age because the guys maybe have served for a little bit, and they're not like directly at a boot camp.
Yeah.
And then, so full disclosure, I talked to your boy Donnelly before this. What happened to you during Hell Week?
I had everyone has issues. But I got, I don't know what the name of it is, but it was like micro fractures in my think it was my right shin bone, but it was just from beating feet all week long. It's not super uncommon. A lot of times it goes undiagnosed as like shin splints. So that's what it really is. It hurts really, really badly, like shin splints. But honestly, you'd be hard pressed to find guys that weren't in some sort of distress. You know, it's just a long week. Guys lose their toenails. It's miserable. But yeah, I mean, it's a common injury. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, you're being a little humble right now.
The shin splint.
Yeah, you're being a little humble, but to me, it sounds like you completed Hell Week on a broken leg.
No.
Okay.
No, there's I completed Hell Week with some sore shins and some what do we call it? The chafing on the knees and the waist and all that sort of thing. But there were some other guys that had some much worse injuries. I'll tell you what, the worst is when you make it to like a Tuesday or a Wednesday Hell Week, and then you have some sort of medical issue, whether whatever it is, and then you have to get rolled all the way back to day one. Those guys and then they make it through on the second chance. That's impressive. That's really, really impressive. It's a tough thing to do. And
were you told at any point that you might get rolled back or that you were getting rolled back?
It was the week after Hell Week. It's called quote unquote walk week. They're just basically, it's a recovery week. You have to get your body back into shape. And it was basically touch and go. Could I run? Ultimately, it was going to come down. There wasn't any structural damage or anything like that. It was just really bad pains or micro, whatever they call them. But no, it was up to me. It was like, hey, if you can pass the standard, then you're going to stay with the class. If you can't pass the standard, then, we'll have to reassess you medically or whatever it is, performance wise. Yeah, I did. I mean, I did end up getting rolled at some point in the pipeline. I got injured in jump school, but that was a medical roll. Okay,
but eventually you finished. You got your trident. I don't know how much you're allowed to say now, but can you say which team you joined and what your responsibilities were?
Yeah, I was at SEAL Team 1 from 2011 until 2016. I was a designated sniper for the platoon, and I was also an intel rep.
So we're all right. Yeah, all right. How did you then decide, all right, I'm going to go become a sniper? Because being a SEAL is one thing, then to become a SEAL sniper is a whole other challenge.
For something like that, it's honestly there's so much luck involved. These spots, the roster spots for different schools, not only sniper school, they randomly pop up. Something happens, and all of a sudden there's a spot, and guys get chosen. And sometimes if you're at the building at the right time, you're going to sniper school. And if I remember correctly, I think there was only a couple of guys that were available to go away for that long, and I was one of them. So I was given the opportunity to qualify and then to shoot the qualification. And then if I passed, then I would go on to sniper school. Were you a particularly good shot and you thought like, okay, maybe I can do this? No, I wasn't even the best shot in my platoon. There were some pretty good shots. Yeah, I mean, it's a competency thing. It's like they have a standard. If you can go and meet the standard, then, you're qualified, you're a sniper. Mm-hmm. So, you have to keep those skills up and you take pride in your craft. But yeah, I wasn't some sort of special shooter in any way. I was I would say probably very average amongst the group. Okay. Still probably pretty impressive though, to be enough above average to be ultimately become a sniper. So, all right, you're a sniper, you're a SEAL, and you served until 2016? I was at SEAL Team 1 until 2016, and then I transitioned out of the SEAL team, out of the deployable status, went to shore duty, which everyone's got to do at some point, and I went to BUDS as a third phase instructor. So I kind of went full circle, went from obviously being a student to becoming an instructor in third phase, and I did that from 2016 until April of 2020. About a year. Is that fun to go back and be an instructor just because you remember how difficult that was for yourself? And, on the one hand, you're going to give these guys a hard time. You want to make sure they get properly trained. But on the other hand, it's a little fun knowing that you're not the one, lying in the sand in the cold water. Yeah, I mean it is. It's fun. There's a bit of nostalgia there when you first go back, because you've got so many memories. I mean, you're always around the area, but to go back and put on that that instructor shirt, it's kind of you feel a little bit nostalgic. But it's yeah, I mean, I commend all the teachers out there, because it's Groundhog Day and we do it every 7 weeks, and they have to do it 3 or 4 times a day as they have their kids coming through their classes. Very difficult job. It was always important to try to be an example for the kids. Not all of them are kids. Some of them are my age going through. Mm-hmm. But it was always important to just to try to show them respect, be stern but fair. And there's all kinds of instructors, and it's good to go back and see how everything works. Kind of see how the sausage is made, as they say. Yep. It was interesting. I worked a couple hell weeks. Haven't been a student one. It's just a blur. And haven't been an instructor one. Everything was very mechanical. Everything was meticulously planned out. And I just had no idea until you go and you work as an instructor during one.
Right. I'm going to put you on the spot here. What is the best insult you remember either hearing or directing at someone while you were an instructor?
Insults.
Well, maybe not like an insult, but like you know what I mean. Like, and I don't want to say the word haze, but I think you know what I mean. Yeah.
I would say the funniest thing that I ever heard was we had a pretty funny instructor, and it wasn't really directed at anybody, but if you knew how this guy operated, everything he said was really funny. Mm-hmm. So I forget what day it was like Tuesday or Wednesday or something like that. And he was playing like nice guy for part of his shift, and he gathered everybody around. He's like, "Hey, everybody, bring it in. He's being real nice." And he said, "I got good news and I got bad news. What do you guys want first?" And we're like, "The bad news." He's like, "The bad news is this next evolution is the next exercise or whatever you're going to be doing. This next evolution is going to really suck." And we're like, "Oh shit! What's the good news?" And he said, "The good news is it's a voluntary program, and you can leave any time. You can just go ring the bell." Which we're all like deflated. And then I don't know if it's the timing is right, but they would make us stand. I think shortly after that, made us stand on the sandberm and like wave goodnight to the sun for like an hour.
That's the stuff though. That it's just like it's more the mental than the physical challenge. Yeah. Just standing in one spot for an hour is ridiculous.
Yeah, just being wet, standing for an hour, just having 3 mile an hour wind, just nip at you every few minutes. It's tough, yeah. But it's funny. I mean, it's funny in hindsight now. I wouldn't trade it in.
Okay, so we get done with the Navy. Did you have these idea that you were going to be a career guy, or you knew I was staying in for this amount of time, or did the Navy just kind of send you on your way? How did it happen that you transitioned out?
I had been going all the way back to before I started. I didn't want to make a career out of it just because I was starting so late. I was going to put myself in a really weird spot. I'd be like 48 if I did, or 49, I guess, if I did 20 years. So I was like, my intent was always to get out, and I basically got out exactly when I thought I was going to get out at 40. I had no idea what I was going to do though. Mm-hmm. Well, I guess I was 39 when I got out, but I had no idea what I was going to do. And I just I started, when I got back from my last deployment, I started tinkering. I was always wanting to, use my hands and make stuff. And so I started making some furniture, bought a bunch of tools, and just kind of going through things, learning stuff. And then at some point I saw a putter that was customized. I was like, "Oh, that's pretty cool." I don't know how the timeline went, but at some point when I finished the putter, and Donnie, like you just mentioned, I sent a picture to Don, and he's like, "Holy shit, you can send it out to the guys." So I sent it out to Murph and Witt, and they liked it. And then those guys, Donnelly specifically, I think we just did his putter again for like the 4th time or 5th time. I don't know how many times we've done it, but he's been coming back every year. We're getting better every year. I feel bad because he was a test dummy back in 2016 or whenever I started. Yeah. But we're doing a lot better work now, so we're pretty confident in that.
So what do you specifically?
Yeah. So our company is Siege Custom Putters, and we started off refinishing, customizing putters, basically taking putters that needed a little bit of new life breathed into them. We refinish them and make them look good. So it started, like I said, as a hobby, and it kind of grew, and I picked up a partner, Kyle O'Hare. he's a machinist by trade. So he's a magician with metal. He can do all kinds of stuff, render stuff. So he does a really good job with that. I do all the back end stuff, the customization work. Mm-hmm. So we've got a good partnership. We've been growing, but I had to kind of we're trying to fly a little bit below the radar when I was still active duty, just because it's tough with traveling and all that sort of stuff. You don't want to start, over promising, under delivering. Mm-hmm. So we kind of flew below the radar until April of last year, until when I got out last year. And then since then, we've been trying to build up a little bit. We're building some momentum. We just got a new machine that's going to be a game changer for us. It's going to be a keystone piece of equipment at the shop. So we'll be able to, machine anything, CNC machine anything in the shop, golf related. So we're going to be expanding our capabilities pretty soon. We're not quite there yet, but it's going to be in the next few weeks.
Okay. I don't even know. How do you even start? Like, you want to work with your hands, but how did you watch a YouTube that says, hey, here's how to refurbish putters? Where do you even begin to know what to do?
Yeah. I knew a little bit about, I honestly started reading, and I knew a little bit about conditioning metal, just because I watched YouTube videos of people, making motorcycles or making whatever. I had seen stuff. So I knew in the back of my mind it could be done. Obviously there was a lot of stuff I didn't know, and I learned that as I went. But I would say, honestly, probably 90% of it was just experiment, fail, figure it out type thing. But yeah, I would get snippets, and it wouldn't necessarily be golf club refinishing. Like I said, I would see people doing stuff to motorcycles or whatever. They just, people that are metal workers doing stuff. Mm-hmm. So I kind of pick up those things. And then Kyle is he actually knows what he's doing for the most part. So he kind of took over that side of the stuff. And I became a certified applicator, which doesn't mean anything to you, but I'm sure some people out there, some gun enthusiasts out there will know what Cerakote is. It's a common gun finish, but we use it on our putters. Yep.
Oh, okay. All right. That's pretty cool. So as I mentioned, that's not a traditional route. Like, a lot of guys get out of the military and they will go back into the business world. You clearly didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
So you got into doing this. You're working for yourself. You're paving a path within your SEAL community. So I'm just kind of curious, what do you think about all these other gentlemen in your community, whether it's books or movies or television, and kind of really putting the SEAL name out there the way that they are?
Yeah, it's a tough question to answer. Everybody has their own opinions. It's hard to judge anyone on what they do or why they do it. I couldn't tell you all the backstories for all the different reasons the SEALs have done books or movies, but it's something that's honestly not spoken about too much in the teams. Most guys just kind of, 99.9% of the guys just kind of go about their business quietly, hanging out in the shadows. You never know they're SEALs. And they do their jobs. And I don't think you're ever going to find an industry or a profession that doesn't have people who, will want to do that. Will want to try to make money on the side. And that, it's a capitalist society. And as long as you don't break any of the government rules in terms of classified information, then you're entitled to do that.
Well, I guess that's certainly, I think that's a good stance to take. Yeah, you're right. And that 1% is a fairly loud percent. And it's just interesting now how post 9/11, and, maybe you've spoken to your father about this, but my heart always breaks with how Vietnam veterans were treated when they came home. And it's really kind of, in my opinion, gone the other way now. And veterans are so admired that you do have these opportunities now. How much, do you lean on the teams at all for what you're doing now, or it's not really applicable, or maybe it's just the lessons learned?
Yeah. Honestly, if I said that I wasn't touching on what I had learned during my time in the Navy, I'd be lying, because my partner will tell you I'm meticulous with details about, weird stuff. And that's probably just coming from my experience. But in terms of leaning, I don't even know how many guys know I have a putter business. I'm sure some guys know, and they'll probably find out now, but I haven't been leaning on much of anything. And Witt's actually he's said, hey, anytime you want some help, I can talk to, whatever, I can help you out any way you want. I could give you a shout out, whatever. So he's been great. But I also, there's something to be said about, I respect his friendship, and I respect, I would never put anybody in a position like that. So we've tried to do this, organically. We haven't leaned on the SEAL thing, and this is probably the first time that people will know that, like I said, I'm running a golf customization business.
Yeah, because obviously, I imagine you want to grow a good, successful, reliable business, and you don't want to just say like, "Hey, use me because I was a SEAL."
Yeah, that's not. I wouldn't do that. People will know that's fine. I wouldn't try to hide from my past. It's they know that I'm a SEAL, and they want to say, "Hey, thanks for your service." I say it all the time to all the other vets I come across. I say, "Hey, thanks for your service." People reach out, "Hey, I'm a fellow vet." And I say, it's so. I think it's a good thing. It's been great, like you said. It's a different time. Unfortunately, that whole generation had to suffer when they came back, but it's paved the way for us. Just like the greatest generation,
right?
Saved the free world, as they say.
Absolutely. No, well, Chris, I honestly, I think what you're doing is awesome because it is different. I'm an avid golfer myself, so that's one of the other reasons my ears kind of perked up, and I just think it's really cool. So I just got 3 quick questions for you, and then we'll wrap things up. Sure. Number 1, while you were in the Navy, what was the best assignment you had? Maybe it was a deployment, or maybe it was a job, back stateside. What was your most enjoyable post or job assignment?
Probably I was, I don't know. I was point man for a few missions in Afghanistan. That was really exciting because you're kind of like, your guys are relying on you doing your job properly. That was pretty exciting. I would say that's one of the things that I'm proud of on the operational side. On the non-operational side, being a BUDS instructor it's a good job, and you impact so many lives through your course of time at BUDS. And it's, you get every 7 or 8 weeks, whatever it is, you get, 30, 40, 50, 60 new candidates, and you have a small impact on all those kids' lives. And that's pretty, it's not a lot of time. Not a lot of people can spend that much time with kids and impact them that much.
Have you heard from any of the guys that you were instructor for that came back and said, "Hey, you said this while I was there and it really helped"?
Yeah, guys come back. It's typically around the time that they graduate. So it's, 8 more months down the line when they've kind of taken a step closer to becoming a SEAL. They'll come back and they'll see you, and they'll remember something. You may or may not remember it. I do stay in contact with one guy. I'm not going to mention him, but I do stay in contact with one guy who I was a student with. He knows who he is. But we talk pretty frequently. He's still operational now.
Okay, cool. All right.
He was in my first class.
Got it. Next question. Favorite military movie?
I don't know. I was always a sucker for Full Metal Jacket, to be honest.
That's a good one. There's nothing wrong with that being your choice. I
know. Tropic Thunder's pretty good too, though.
You know what? I got to be honest. I don't know that I would have placed that into military movie category, but I guess technically it is. So that works. That's pretty good.
I'll go with Full Metal Jacket. It's too much. There's too much good stuff in there.
Okay. All right. And then lastly, any embarrassing stories about Whit that you can share?
I don't think I have any, honestly.
That's such crap. He flies so high over there on his show, and I could tell. I played. So when I was at Bowdoin, when I was a freshman, I played him my freshman year. He was on the development team at the time before I went to college. So I met him back then in 2000, 2001, and then I used to party at his house when he was in when I was living in Charlestown. He was living in Charlestown. I used to party at his house when he'd have these bangers going on, like just good parties. And I met him a bunch of times there. And then I finally went to one of his games up in Anaheim. I think it was at Edmonton at the time. And I saw him again. And I don't know if he ever put two and two together, but he finally, I think, realized who I was. And then after that, so we had been seeing each other for several years, including inside of his apartment. But I don't think he ever knew who I was. And he was like, "Oh, there's that dude again."
Yeah, there he is. Yeah.
That's pretty funny. All right, well, Chris, thank you for your time. One more time, just say the name of your company and where people can find you guys.
On IG, we're at Siege Custom Putters, and then same thing for our website, siegecustomputters.com.
Awesome. Well, Chris, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your service. It was interesting to get to talk to you a little bit here, and I wish you all the best moving forward.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Connor.
All right, let's move into some save rounds and alibis. I'm going to start off because there's been some disturbing news on multiple fronts that's happened in the military community that I do want to touch on. The first of which, this story took over our military Twitter over the weekend when there was a Black Army lieutenant who was pepper sprayed by the police department where he was stationed at and just treated unbelievably cruelly, racially profiled and all that stuff. It is amazing, like the social media response and how pissed people were, and rightfully so. That story, I just don't know how it keeps happening, man. Like, how do you see somebody doing what this guy was doing, which was essentially just driving to a lighted spot so he could be easily seen, and think that it's appropriate to pull out fucking pistols and do a felony traffic stop and then tase him and shit, or or pepper spray him? Ridiculous.
No, yeah, it certainly is. And I don't ever want to paint police officers with a broad brush and just say wholly they're one thing or another, because I've mentioned before, I have a lot of police officers in my life that I respect. But to do something like this, I don't know if it's training or if it's the way they're brought up, and it goes back even further. But I don't know how you, in your head, unless you're just really, really stupid, if you think you're going to get away with something when you're wearing a body camera and everything's recorded. Yeah. It's like not to make light of, but like when I watch reality TV and people say like, "Oh, I didn't say that," and it's like everything you are saying is on camera, so ultimately the truth will come out. What's wrong with these people that think they can act a certain way? And I guess I don't know, why do they even pull them over in the first place?
I don't know what the reason was, but this police department actually acted pretty swiftly. They fired the main officer that was behind this, which is different from the way that a lot of it has gone down lately. Like, this police department seems like they're trying to do the right thing here. And it shouldn't take like body cameras and all that.
No,
and I know that's not what you're saying, but this kind of thing, it just happens way too often. Hopefully this dude, it brings a lot of light to what's going on, because it was just terrible to watch him and see his face, and to know this dude is doing everything that he can. He's a commissioned officer in the Army and still going through this type of thing.
Right. Like, where's right. So he's in uniform. Where's the professional courtesy that you extend to somebody who else is serving? That's what I didn't understand.
Or just to another person in general. Like,
just a human being. It shouldn't have to be someone that's in uniform in the military. It should just be, treat humans well, be a good human.
Well, and I saw something, people start, finding everything they can to make it the officers, not the police officers, but the Army officers' fault. Someone's like, well, he had a loaded gun in the front seat. So fucking what? It's legal. If he has it and it's legal, you can't be punished for that. Mm-hmm. I mean, God damn. On one side, they want everyone to own guns and, have rights. And then someone exercised that right. And they're like, well, that guy had a gun.
Yeah, well, and he had a gun, but his hands were completely visible.
Right. Yeah, it's not like he pulled it on him. They were perfectly safe. And I don't know if he had a concealed carry permit or what, but they can't keep trotting that out as a justification for being maced.
Well, not for nothing. Also, too, like, there's no way to have known he had a gun in the front seat.
Yeah. Well, so if you go through a course, they tell you, hey, when you're pulled over and you're licensed to carry, you have to let the officer know.
Yeah.
Right.
You usually put that license out, and you're supposed to put it on the dashboard is where you're supposed to put the weapon. You're like, hey, I just want you to know that I'm carrying my weapons here. My hands are up, type of thing.
And most of the time, the cops don't really care. They're like, all right, thanks. Because, either you're a threat or you're not. And just,
it's just so sad that it escalated the way that it did. And just that he was treated that way for, I don't know.
Be scared. Get the fuck.
Oh yeah. That was terrible too. Like, to say like, oh, I'm scared. Like, the reason I'm not getting out is because I'm scared to get out. And the cop replying with, you should be scared. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, it's a superiority complex, no doubt. And then the other story that's starting to take off this morning was a story of an Army staff sergeant who, this story is fucking disgusting. Staff Sergeant Randall Hughes got off with a slap on the wrist after he raped the wife of a young soldier under his charge during a Super Bowl party in 2017. It wasn't the first time Hughes raped someone, according to the charge sheets, and it wouldn't be the last. The victim, Lee Ramirez, reported the rape to the Army CID the next day. It happened after a party at Ramirez's home in Fort Bliss. Her husband was passed out drunk after Hughes egged him on to continue taking shots of whiskey throughout the evening. Ramirez put her husband to bed. The party ended and everyone left. Ramirez was outside the home alone when Hughes propositioned her for sex. She said no, so Hughes grabbed her, forced himself upon her against the grill, and later dragged her by her hair into the home where he raped her. After it ended, Ramirez hid in a bathroom until Hughes eventually left the house. I waited until the morning, then I went to the hospital to get checked. It took CID 48 hours to get to my house for evidence. So I lived in the crime scene for another 48 hours, and then it took 3 years to do anything. After a year-long investigation, the Army CID agents determined the allegations were credible, but a victim advocate later explained to her that Hughes was receiving a general officer memorandum of reprimand on his personal file. He would not be prosecuted. Ramirez never understood the reason for that decision, and her husband changed posts while the investigation unfolded. I was told that CID had enough evidence to believe it happened, and Fort Bliss still didn't do anything. The Army would later learn that Hughes was in fact a serial rapist. A few months after Ramirez reported her rape, Hughes did the same thing to another woman at Fort Bliss. Hughes transferred to Fort Dix, New Jersey in the intervening years, and it wasn't long before he was once again accused of rape, this time by his teenage daughter. By now, Fort Dix DI agents saw all the charges in Hughes' file, and in 2020, they began looking into his past. That inquiry ultimately resulted in criminal charges spanning more than a decade involving 5 victims. A plea agreement whittled the charges down to a few most recent incidents, but still included both 2017 rapes. He pleaded guilty in Fort Drum, New York courtroom to a slate of criminal charges and was sentenced to 13 years in prison and a dishonorable discharge. There has got to be more things that are done to the general officers who just give slaps on the wrist.
Yes, they should be held accountable. If it's under your command and something like this happens, and as a result, you just write a letter that a general officer letter of reprimand, that stinks and it sticks with you. But for something like rape,
yeah, it's not like you ran a fucking stop sign.
Right. Yeah. It wasn't like, he's repeatedly late for work or something. He's raping people.
It's just disgusting. So stupid that the military even has jurisdiction over this stuff. If you're inside the continental United States and it's a legit criminal thing that has nothing to do with the military whatsoever, that should go out in town. Automatically, it should go out in town. Even if you want to give it to like another federal jurisdiction, like the FBI or somebody like that, the Army should not be conducting these types of investigations, either to the Marine Corps, the Navy, the Air Force, anybody. It should go to civilians. Like there should be nobody. It should have nothing to do with the chain of command because it's a civilian crime. This crime is not military on military. This isn't stealing military shit or showing up UA or doing any of those things. This is fucking rape, man. What the fuck does that have to do with the military?
Nothing. No. And it's kind of wild because, a lot of times the UCMJ is more strict than civilian law. But I agree with you in this case, the woman wasn't in the military. If it's happening to people in the same unit, I could see there being a little bit of a gray area.
But even then, it's got to be something different, even if it is 2 military members. But especially, you're right, when it's a civilian and military member.
Mm-hmm. This is terrible.
Military, why do you even want that authority? Why would you want to spend your resources on that when you could pass it off to civilian authorities? And they're more equipped to handle this shit, obviously.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I agree. Just common sense wise, but then,
oh my gosh. I don't even want to think though. If I woke up the next morning and my wife told me. Oh yeah. There'd be murder charge. I'd probably be in jail. I would probably be in jail.
What do you do if you're that soldier? Cause you got to say something, but if he's a staff sergeant and say you're a specialist, I don't know, like that's a really fucking weird situation to be in.
That's just terrible. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. If you could take that to the civilian authorities, I'm sure things would.
And then the fact that he was able to continue to walk the streets and do this repeatedly when once is too many. Once is too many, but when you know he's a serial rapist, this guy deserves to be behind bars his entire life. It's just
how does he stay in and still have 2020, 3 years after the investigation, 3 years, and he has this letter of non-promote? How the fuck is he get him out, dude?
Yeah. Not to mention
48 hours to show up. Even Jesus Christ.
That's just they need to figure something out because that ain't it. That ain't the way.
Nope. All right. So, what about you guys? What do you got, Kyle?
Well, I'd play Bertie Higgins if we could play music anymore. But heads up to all the listeners, we can't play copyrighted music on the show anymore. So no Credence at the beginning. No Bertie. Or what's Bertie Higgins?
Bertie,
I can't remember. Yeah,
I guess we had a good run, but that's not our decision. So just so everyone knows, that's not our decision.
No more palate cleanser. No more fun song at the end. Sorry, everybody, but copyright lawyers are being huge assholes. So, and besides that, this is my 100th episode producing.
Wow!
Started on 255. It is now 355. I think it's actually more because I think we had 1 or 2 specials thrown in there. But I don't really count. I just noticed today was 355. So it's been awesome. Fun. It's been a good time. Thanks everyone for listening.
Absolutely. No doubt. So obviously I mentioned I was in Austin on Friday night. I had an Uber driver who was a Afghani interpreter who worked with the U.S. Army and now moved to the United States. He was living in Minnesota, and then he moved down to Texas. But that was just interesting to talk to him and understand his journey from Afghanistan, working as an interpreter all the way back to the United States. So I was happy to meet him. R.I.P. Prince Philip. He was a veteran, right?
Mm-hmm. I saw an interview with him that was fucking hilarious when he talked about going back to Japan. He went back in like the 50s or something like that. And he said that he got off the plane there for an official visit with the Queen, and he was there too. And somebody from Japan was like, "Is this your first time to Japan?" And he was like, "Yeah, it is," even though he was in the building whenever the peace treaty, the surrender of the Japanese was actually signed.
Oh, interesting. Huh. That's interesting.
And he was like, yeah, no, this is my first time.
I wonder why he said that.
I was here for your surrender. That would have made it awkward.
Yeah, I guess so. That's good. He didn't want to put salt in the wound there, I guess, a little bit. And then lastly, I was watching Titanic last night. Alex started watching it, and then I just didn't turn it off, so I watched it till the end. That must have stunk to be on the Titanic, huh?
Yeah, especially when fucking Rose doesn't even scooch.
Yeah, come on, scooch a little for me, Rose.
Jeez. Never let go. Immediately, let's go. You
unbelievable.
Fucking liar.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah, well, I mean, when your hands are cold, it's hard to keep a grip on there.
That's a good point.
And she didn't really know him all that well. She had known him for like 3 days.
True. 3 days. Like that's always glossed over. Hey, you met this guy on, for the weekend. It was a weekend fling, as what it came down to.
Granted,
and you're acting like you lost the love of your life.
He's a handsome fella.
I get it.
I'd probably fall for him after 3 days too.
She's probably disappointed that she didn't get to pick that picture because he made her titties look dynamite.
Popping. Titties be popping.
Titties be popping. All right, that's it. We'll see you back here on Friday. Sound the retreat.